Hey guys, I'm John Setzler. Welcome back to the Kamado Joe cooking channel. We're going to squeeze one last video in here before Thanksgiving. I'm going to give you guys a recipe for a dessert that's really going to set things off on your Thanksgiving dinner table. So we're going to make a pumpkin cheesecake with an Oreo cookie crust. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is fire up the Kamado Joe Classic. I've lit a fire in the center of the firebox here, and I've got my divide and conquer flexible cooking rack in place. We're going to set both halves of the heat deflector down in the low position, and we're going to set both halves of the grill grate in the upper position. We're going to set up today to cook at 350 degrees. And to do that, I'm going to leave the bottom vent about halfway open, and I'm going to set the slider on the top vent to about halfway open until we get up close to temperature. And as we come up, I'm going to close it down or open it up, whichever I need to do to get stabilized at about 350 degrees. Okay, we're going to get this project started by making some candied pecans to go on top of this cheesecake. And I'm going to start out in a mixing bowl with a half a cup of confectioner's sugar, 3/4 of a teaspoon of sea salt, 1/2 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and I'm going to use 4 teaspoons of whiskey. And if you don't want to use whiskey, just use water or use something else. And I'm going to take a whisk and whisk that together. And then I'm going to dump in 2 cups of pecan halves, and I'm just going to take my spoon and we're going to toss that to completely coat these pecans with that glaze. Okay, our Kamado Joe Classic's cruising along at 350. So I've taken these pecans and I've put them in a foil pan and I've arranged them out fairly evenly and turned them mostly where the upside's facing up. We're going to let these go for 10 to 12 minutes. Okay guys, we've been going here about 12 minutes and these look just about perfect. So we're going to take these off and just set them aside and let them cool. Okay, now we're going to start making our cheesecake, and in the bowl of my mixer I have 3 8-ounce blocks of cream cheese that I have softened, and I'm going to beat that until they're creamed. Okay, and once I have that together, we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. We're going to add 4 large eggs. I'm going to add 1 15-ounce can of pumpkin puree, 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 1/2 of a cup of brown sugar, 1/4 of a cup of sour cream, 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract, 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, 1/2 of a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to mix all that together. Okay, you want that mixed up very well where there's little to no lumps left in that. So now we'll just set that aside and we'll put our crust together. I have taken 24 Oreo cookies, regular Oreo cookies that actually have the stuffing in them. Don't use the double stuff. I've put these in a Ziploc bag, and I'm just going to take my rolling pin and we're going to pulverize these. Okay, now I have my cookies pulverized. I'm going to put these into a large mixing bowl, and I'm going to add in 6 tablespoons of melted butter, and we're just going to stir that up until that's completely combined. Now I've got a 9-inch springform pan that I'm just going to give a quick coat of cooking spray, and then we're going to put our cookie crumb crust into this pan, and I'm going to form that in. I'm going to smooth that out along the bottom, and we're going to bring it up the sides just a bit like a normal cheesecake crust. And once we have that formed in, we can pour in our cheesecake mixture. We'll be sure and get all of that in the pan. And now we can take that bad boy to the grill. Okay, our Joe's still rolling along at 350, so I'm going to open this guy up. We're going to set this cheesecake on the springform pan right in the middle, and we're going to let this cook for somewhere between an hour and an hour and 15 minutes. Okay, we've been going right at an hour and 15 minutes, and I'm pretty happy with what the consistency of this cheesecake looks like. It's still a little jiggly in the middle, which is where it needs to be. So I'm going to take this off the grill and we're going to take it inside and put it on a cooling rack. Okay, this cheesecake looks beautiful. I'm going to set it on this wire rack and we're going to let it cool for an hour, but I'm going to take a knife and run it around the edge to make sure that it's released. And then, like I said, we're going to let this cool here for an hour. Okay guys, I have finished this up. After we let that cool on our cooling rack for an hour, I put it in the refrigerator and let it chill completely. I had it in there for 4 hours. And so to serve this, what I've done is I've pulled it out, I've sliced off a piece, I drizzled chocolate sauce and caramel sauce across the top of this, and then I took my little hand cranked cheese grater and put some dark chocolate in there and shaved a little bit of chocolate and served this with a couple of these candied pecan slices. So this looks amazing. I can't wait to try it. And for the moment of truth, let's just taste it. Wow, guys, that's amazing. That is beautiful. You want to dress up your dessert on your Thanksgiving dinner table? You got to give this a try. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. Join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Kamado Joe. Follow us on Twitter @Kamado Joe. And until next time, this is John Setzler with Kamado Joe Cooking Channel.